Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Who's who's clicking the clicker? Okay. All right.
You got to give them
Thir-
the
thir-
virtual
Eric, 30
click.
minutes or an hour? Okay. I'll talk fast. Oh. Yeah.
And next. And next.
Tonight, I'm gonna have myself a real good time.
The word started out. All right.
It'll
Digging
be
it.
alright. And the world turning inside out. Yeah. Floating around in ecstasy. So
Hi, I'm Brad Graves. I'm one of the B students here. I joined B about a year and a half ago, and I get to learn from the best. The coaches are amazing. They challenge you, they hold you accountable, and I think that having those types of coaches really kind of build you up and allow you to become a better leader.
degrees, that's why they call me Mr. Fahrenheit. I'm traveling at the speed of light. I wanna make a supersonic man out of you. Don't stop me now. I'm having such a good time. I'm having a ball. Don't stop me now. If you wanna have a good time, just give me a call. Don't stop me now. I'm having a good time. Don't stop me now. Yes, I'm having a good time. I don't wanna stop at all. It might seem crazy what I'm about to say. Sunshine, she's here. You can take a break. I'm a hot air balloon that could go to space. With the air, like I don't care, baby, by the way. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm
Nice intro. Like it. Well, hello, everybody. My name's Dayton Schrader. I'm a broker associate with EXP in San Antonio, Texas. I'm one of the founding partners of B Coaching and Consulting. And my guest today is Devin Sizemore from Reno, Nevada. So, Devin, welcome and thank you very much for taking time out of your day to join us.
Great to be here, Dayton. Looking forward to the conversation and exploring adding value through connections.
No, there's no question about it. Part of what we're going to talk about is Devin's book. But before we do that, I had the opportunity to meet you in Reno a few weeks ago, and I just thought you were just a good human being and obviously very sharp at what you're doing and accomplished. And so, but let's establish your likability first. Tell us your story.
Yeah, for sure. So I always start with I'm a serial entrepreneur. I say that because I love business, right? I love studying business, optimizing businesses, scaling businesses. I've owned a marketing agency, a manufacturing company, a co-working space, a cat cafe, a consulting agency, and I've worked with over 600 companies over the last decade to scale, optimize, and grow their agencies, companies, or organizations. Got 3 kiddos, love cats, wonderful spouse, and spend as much time with family or traveling as I can.
Man, I'm definitely not getting enough out of my day. That's that's quite a list. And you kind of wove the personal stuff and the professional stuff, but circle back around on the professional stuff. How many books have you published?
Yeah, so I've done one book myself, but I've worked with over 80 authors and helping them publish their books.
Wow.
So lots in the writing publishing space.
Okay. And how many times have you been on stage across the country?
Stages, podcasts in the hundreds.
Yeah, I was gonna say several hundreds, if not more, over time. How long have you been at it at this level?
I did start speaking when I launched my first company. So I mean, we're over 10 years of stages, podcasts, content creation. So yeah, quite a while now.
You timed it just about right. That was when the big growing curve started for all that. So excellent. So let's talk about your book, Connection Expansion, and your theory is you're one connection away from growing your business. So let's talk about that a little bit. And
100%. Yeah, so I had an original subtitle of the book, and it was something fancy like a scalable, duplicatable system for growing your network. And as I was going through publishing, they're like, that's great. Like, yes, it does that. Your system does do it. But what we found is in every client I worked with and every person I was teaching, we found that the common ground was it literally only takes one connection to unlock something in your world. And the kind of subtitle is you're probably already connected to the person. You just don't know it because you're not approaching the way you build relationships in a way that unlocks the potential in your current network. Instead, you're probably defaulting to where's the next customer, where's the next deal. And so the book goes on this exploration of how do we shift the way we network, communicate, schedule meetings, have those meetings, follow up from the meetings, and nurture long term so that it's easier to build relationships and it's easier for people to make connections for you.
Fantastic. I know personally, I had a colleague down the hall who was retiring, and I asked you. I said, I really admire you and your practice, and would you consider selling it to me? And he said, Oh, Dayton, I got nothing to sell, but let me take you and introduce you to this builder. So that was my first big builder account. He put his arm around me and said, Dayton's your guy. He's going to take great care of you. And kind of dropped me in the deep end of the pool. Well, that builder broke up. They opened up 2 separate different companies. I was able to get business from them and grow and one hand off to another. So 1 or 2 connections has changed the course of my life and my career in the industry. And I've had more than one example of that, but that's one that's real concrete, that's very fresh in my mind. It's been a game changer. So you're absolutely right. I agree 100% about that. And I think part of it is when I'm coaching, I'm telling people you take you're 20 people away from doubling your business. So I'm a little bit more than what you're advocating, but I think you're 20 people away from doubling your business, and you already know 10 of them. And then we have the conversation that you just suggested. Hey, let me have a grown-up conversation with you about being a referral partner as opposed to just being my bud or something along those lines, if that's an avenue you want to pursue. So I think that's a great one. You mentioned some tactics on step 1. So priming your network. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so let's dive into the identify the 10 people. I think there's some nuggets and some intentionality about who you should meet with first. One of my core principles is there's value in every relationship. So I am the guy that says meet with anyone and we can find value. But time is valuable, right? And so if you're busy and you're trying to figure out, okay, well, on my contact list, who do I reach out first? The thought exercise I like to tell people is get clear on your ideal client, right? especially in real estate, is it your first time buyer, move up buyer? Are they downsizing? Like, what is that profile type for your perfect, the buyer you want to work with, the exact client? And then let's think through their hobbies, their interests, and where they spend money. Hobbies, interests, and where they spend money. If we think about those things, we start to build a little web that starts to give us an insight to who has access to our clients. So if we know, hey, our clients tend to like this one hobby, great. That's good information. They tend to be this age, or they tend to have kids. Great, that's a demographic that works. So the more demographic profiles we can get, we then can look at where do they spend money, and where do they gather, where do they seek education? And that starts to give us ideas in our network of who has access to them. So if we know that CPAs are a great contact for us, well, where do CPAs go to get educated, right? Where do they gather? They have continuing education and accreditation. Now we can start building a game plan where we can go to our network and go, okay, who do I know that is either a CPA or that I think is likely to have access? Let me book meetings with those 10 people first. So we're trying to book the meetings with people we think have access to our ideal clients. So that's how I would build your short list when it comes to, who to reach out to first.
Exactly. And part of what you're doing is trying to fish upstream. You're instead of, and we'll get to this a little bit more, but the leverage that comes with that is spectacular if you do it right. I mean, just amazing. So identify the 10 people, your value first outreach, and then your strategic introduction of what you're doing. For me, what I coach my students is 10 people the most affluent, influential people that you've got access to. If you reel off a bunch of doctors, the doctors aren't going to call you back. They don't need you. But you want people that are aligned with you values-wise, shared values and shared sacrifice, and that have access, as Devin said, have access to the people you want. If you want to hang out at the country club, you're going to meet a bunch of golfers and card players. If you want to hang out at an alumni association event, then you're going to meet a bunch of people with that brand, and so on. So I think that's being very strategic about the time you spend and really thinking it through. And now, what do you think about having more than one avatar as a client? Maybe I've got different constituencies or different groupings of people that I work with.
Yeah, I would say everyone should have probably 3, 4, 5 different, ideal client profiles. And as your business matures or scales, that's probably going to shift over time as your credibility grows, your income grows. What I would say is look for the common ground, because that's where the best leverage is. And I know earlier when we were talking, advisors is something for you, right? So financial advisors tend to have access to a broad range of customers. So probably a couple of your ideal client profiles they have access to, but those people are working, the common ground is the advisor, right? The common ground might be the CPA. The common ground might be the health insurance agent. The common ground might be, again, there's common ground between all your ideal client profiles. And so in a perfect world, if I can find myself in a room full of people, right, that have access to multiple client profiles, that's a gold mine. So for me, it's mastermind hosts typically. Like if I can partner with mastermind hosts, we're going to collectively have joint impact. And so I know that that's my many to many approach. So yeah, look for the common ground and then make that your ask. Hey, I want to connect with these kind of people because the probability of them having access to my clients, is much, much more increased.
So you don't have to go, you don't have to be 100% exclusive for first-time home buyers. You can have first-time home buyers and you could have empty nesters and snowbirds if that's your market and you're credible in that space. Or you could have investors. And so you could have multiple avatars, as you said, for different kinds of people that you want to work with. And then treat each one differently.
Yeah, and then build the list. Yeah, build the list on who has access to that client. And if anything on those lists is the same, like if there's a business banker that you think has access to all these people, or if there's, or a lot of them, then you should shoot for those people first, because now you're not stuck on the one client profile, you're at least hitting a few.
Excellent. Well, let's talk about building trust, because that is a huge part of this exercise and establishing that. I know trust is built by keeping small promises, but you got a little bit more tactics on that.
Yeah, so I want to jump to the social proof side of this. I've recorded 2 podcasts today, and we were talking about this, like, how many stages are you on, Devin? A lot. I think that, often when people talk about social media marketing and content creation, I feel like it gets siloed into this, am I going to get a direct ROI, and am I going to get clients to sign up through those efforts? Are they going to book meetings and close deals? Great. I like to track all that stuff too. But the part of creating all of that content or writing a book that is super valuable is it front loads the trust equation. So when you show up with someone, especially someone that could be a strategic partner, they do a little looking and they go, okay, Devin's got 7,000 LinkedIn connections. He's on a ton of podcasts. He's on stages. Other people are inviting them into their world. Instantly, you're like, this guy, I probably should trust this guy or gal. So a huge side effect of creating a ton of content is building trust. Now, content you control is even better. So your own podcast, hosting your own event where you're getting your own content, or again, writing a book, all of those are a way to front load the trust equation in the content. And then going back to the first thing here on your credibility story, it all starts to fuel that. It sounds different if I show up and say, hey, I'm the author of the Connection Expansion book, the host of ACE's school community with over 270 members, and I've worked with over 600 businesses. All of that instantly makes people go, okay, well, I'll listen, right? But if you show up and you have none of that because you haven't built relationship trust or at least crafted your narrative in a way that aligns with the audience, you got a kind of a little bit of an uphill battle here.
That's a tough lift, especially in a commodity business where there's thousands of us realtors, and any one of them could do what we do if they chose to. The number one way to establish credibility is to be a public speaker, to be on stage, but a close second is being a published author. And that makes you, in my mind, an expert. I always laugh at people that say they're experts at this and experts at that, but they've never had anything really published. They're just trying to use that as leverage, but it's not credible. But I think yours is, and I also think that when they meet you and they like you and seem like a nice guy, the first thing they're going to go do is go to the internet and look you up and see if you're really legit. And so your LinkedIn profile, your Facebook profile, your followers, all that sort of thing lends to your credibility. And being, again, very intentional about doing that. Let's
100%. Yeah, and if you're starting, let me drop a little nugget for the person that might be intimidated, because maybe there's some people just starting out listening. This is why you should create your own content too, because if you don't have the book yet, if you haven't been on stages, if you haven't been at the chamber doing a presentation or hosting a lunch and learn, just pick up your phone and start recording. And if you don't know what to record, go to AI and ask it, what are the top 20 questions in my industry? And just answer the 20 questions in 20 reels and then post them. Because at least people will find relevant social profiles with some content on it.
That's fantastic. And if you have a YouTube channel where he hadn't been on stage and maybe hadn't written a book, but he's got 250 videos that are educational or somewhat entertaining, and that just kind of helps people get to know you and like you. That's huge. But again, that takes work. You got to really be intentional about that and say, I'm determined to make this happen. And there's plenty of people that can help make that happen. You just got to pick up the phone and call them or get connected to them, and they'll make it work for you. Tell me about a couple of case studies, if you would, because I think that's part of crafting the message of I take care of these people, or this is my ideal client. What is your thought about having a case study or two that supports that?
Yeah, I like to use the mirroring technique here and the sell behind. So it's kind of a combo. So let's talk about the sell behind, because I think it'll be the best one for people to understand. Is whoever I'm meeting, I like to answer or tell stories that align with either who they are or who they know. And so if I think they're the prospective client, I'm trying to build trust with them, I'm going to answer it the way that relates to them. If I think they have access to the people that could be good for me and I know the demographic, I'm going to answer it that. So I was just on a call with a mastermind host, and he's like, Devin, who can I connect you with, or who do you work best with? And so my sell behind was, I love working with mastermind hosts because I can help them scale and grow what they're doing as a trusted brand partner through strategic connections, but I also can work with blah, 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 right? And so I think about the person in front of me, and then I think about my relevant stories, and I try to tie the two together. I work best with business owners that are looking to scale and grow if I know the person in front of me kind of fits that profile. So I think often people build one or two stories that are these wow, aha stories, but they may not be relevant to the person we're meeting. So if you figure out who you're meeting and you figure out their age, their demographics, who they have access to, we then, when they ask what you do or how you can help, or again, for a case study, you can reflect it back in a way that aligns with what you've already learned about them, and then align that story in a way that they're going to lean in and go, oh, that's me, or oh, I know a lot of those people.
I've been at this for 43 years, and I've been to a couple of seminars. I have never heard the term "sell behind." That fascinates me. And I know you kind of covered it, but would you go just a little deeper on that for me?
Yeah, so this is the number one sales technique we teach, because it is a non-confrontational sales technique. So the quote that I always tell people is, everyone wants to buy, nobody wants to be sold. And so
Right.
our job is to let people buy, not to sell to them. And so the best way to do that is if I'm profiling someone, and so I meet Rebecca, and she's a small business owner, and she's sitting across from me, and Rebecca goes, oh, who do you work best with? And I know that Rebecca could be a potential client. I'm going to reflect that back. I'm looking for business owners who own software companies. I love coming alongside them because they're typically great on operations. I'm really good on connections and growth. Together, we can conquer the world. So I'm looking for anyone that's like that. Now, what Rebecca's doing is going, well, wait a second. Like, you just explained who I am and aligned all the value you can bring with what my challenges are. But I didn't say, Rebecca, you'd be a great client, right? It feels very different. And if she's not a potential client, if she self-selects that, Dayton, I don't want to do business with you, or Devin, I don't want to do business with you, now we've armed her to go into her network and grab 2 or 3 people that resonate with the story I just told. And now she can tee them up for a strategic introduction.
That's fantastic. And that just, again, being intentional about it, practicing role playing to where you can learn to overcome objections and you realize what those objections are going to be in advance, and you've got a good script for that. And making it yours, not just reciting what somebody else says, but making it yours and being able to handle that. That's huge. Yeah, yeah. So let's talk about multiplying referrals. Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. I jumped ahead. Forgive me. So excited to move forward. Go on. So sell behind. Good. So let's talk.
So
Let's cover step 3,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah, so the monologue trap, which is something I've been doing, right? Because you're asking questions and it's my job to ask. So what I would tell people is if they're looking at how you and I are engaging right now, they should be you, right? In any meeting you're in, you should be the person who asks the first question and
Mhm.
controls the conversation, meaning asking the questions, not control the conversation, meaning having the most dialogue. On here it says 30-70. I challenge people that like shoot for literally talking the least amount of time possible. And if you're doing virtual meetings, it's great because you can attach like Fathom, and Fathom will tell you your exact talk times. If you're in in-person meetings, you just kind of gauge it. But I always want to control the meeting. So in person, I like to start the conversation with anything that gets them answering a question. How was the weekend? How's the weather? Oh, these monsoons are crazy. Have you heard about Burning Man? Whatever, right? Like if you're in an in-market. If it's virtual, I always go to location. Dayton, remind me where you live. Oh, that's right, right? So now I've taken control. And now it's my job to ask all of the questions to learn about what are you doing today? What's your backstory? What are you trying to accomplish? What's in your way? And what do you need to get there? What are your challenges? What resources do you need? What connections can you make? If I can figure all of that stuff out by asking questions that are engaging and really get you to tell your story, share your dreams, share your passions, and share what's in the way, now I've equipped myself to be able to support you. And I've had a very memorable meeting because you've gone, man, that Devin guy, that was different, right? That feels different. And so that's what we're trying to focus on is, make sure we're asking all the questions and make sure our language and the way we approach all the meetings is about the other person.
Malcolm Gladwell talks about mavens and connectors, and mavens will tell you all about it. If you say, oh, Reno, Nevada, I love Reno. It's the perfect climate. I've got great friends there and all that sort of thing. And I had a buddy years ago who called me out on that very thing. He said, you have a tendency to hijack a story. So if you were telling me about something, I'm like, oh well, I know all about Napa. Let me tell you all about it, and I just totally took away your story. That's a huge mistake, and that was one that I made many times early in my career, and now learned just to sit back, shut up, listen, and again, as you said, ask really good questions and go just a little bit deeper on stuff, whether it's folksy or specific, strategic things like that. So the boring question, how do you reframe that?
Yeah, I like this example. What are you working on right now? That I kind of give people 5 buckets of questions I recommend you use, and they fall into this. But you have to align the questions. This would be my disclaimer. Any question you ask has to feel comfortable, right? So it has to be worded in a way that you, as the person asking, doesn't feel like, oh, I don't know why I'm asking this. No, you have to understand it. Mm-hmm. So I always ask current state. Dayton, what are you doing? Who do you serve? How do you serve them? Some questions in that. Right. We then go to the past. How'd you get here? Right? Like, what's your backstory? Like, why are you even doing this? Again, I want to dig into your history. And then I have you cast the vision. Where are you going, man? What are you trying to create? Who are you trying to impact? And why is that important? So again, lots of future-focused questions. Dig, what's in the way, man? You told me where you are. You told me where you're going. What are some challenges and blockers today? Everyone's got blockers. No matter how successful they are, there's a challenge or a blocker. What's a blocker? Great. Who can I connect you with, or how can I help you? Because I want to make sure that you see that I'm focused on you and adding value to you. And so that's a set of so many questions that are more than just, oh, you do that, oh, you're this, and then I'm trying to like position you to be a client. No. I'm sitting in the moment and really getting to know who you are, because that equips me best to actually figure out, are you a fit to be a client, or who do you know that you could refer to me?
Tell me, if I said to you, Devin, it's kind of a challenging market out there in various aspects. What are you doing to take advantage of those challenges against your competition, or something like that?
Yeah, meet more people. So my default answer all the time when I talk to people is, let me see your calendar, right? How many new people are you meeting? How many networking events are you going to? And how many people in your current network are you having coffee, lunch, dinner with? Like, how busy are your intentional connection meetings? And if it's 1 or 2 a week, double it. And let's see what happens. If it's 5 a week, great, add a couple, right? Let's just increase the number, because if we're having more conversations and we're equipping people on how to refer us and connect us, and we're having these engaged, deep conversations about the other person, then to the transition focus here, all of our follow-up emails can be about providing resources, making connections, and helping the person in front of us. That's what teaches them to do the same for us, make referrals, make connections, and kind of keep the network growing. So fill your calendar up more with meetings, not busy work.
I'm sorry, no question that it's a contact sport. And for my coaching students, I will challenge them. You don't go home on Friday until you've got 10 appointments scheduled for next week. Buyers, sellers, referral partners, deals that are in escrow. Because if you wake up Monday morning and you've got lots of white space on your calendar, you're not going to make a whole lot of money. If you've got appointments scheduled with key people and you get the important stuff done instead of the urgent, you're going to be much further down the road quicker. Let's talk about multiplying the referrals. How that really, the many to many, I thought was a fantastic analogy, I guess, that you wrote in the book.
Yeah, for sure. And I know we're kind of running on time, so we'll be quick on this and we'll kind of hit the next one. So the big thing here is to shift your ask, right? So if I ask you, who do you want to connect with? So many people default to their ideal client profile. I need to understand that, yes, so I can refer you. But who can I connect you with? You need to answer with the best strategic partner. So Dayton and I were talking offline earlier, or even as we started, you said builders. So your default might be, I want to meet any builders or even the subs that are working with a lot of builders. If they're active and busy, I want to meet them, because I know if I get in a meeting with a builder or get in a meeting with subs, you can hack that into being part of your network. Plus, it eliminates the friction, because now instead of me teeing you up for a sale, I'm teeing you up for a strategic conversation. If you're going to book the meeting, it's going to be more valuable. So shift your ask so that you can add way more value, and it makes it easier for people to connect you. Now, the many-to-many hack is, once you figure out who your best referral partner is, figure out how to get in a room full of those people as a sponsor, as the speaker, as a participant, because that's the room that can fundamentally change your business.
That level of visibility with whether you're just there in the room or you volunteer at the front desk when people are checking in, they see you and they recognize you, and again, you go back to the shared values and maybe even shared sacrifices at that point. It makes a huge difference and eliminates a lot of your competition. No question about it. You mentioned create a gratitude system. I thought that was a good point.
Yeah, I think so. On a podcast, I was talking about wow moments. I think anytime you have a moment to wow someone, you should. And so this comes from passionate listening. So if I see, and I gave the story of M&Ms, I was meeting with a guy one time, and I saw a bunch of candy on his desk, and I was like, "Oh, you love candy?" And he goes, "Yeah, I love M&Ms." But he joked, "I only like the red ones." And so after the meeting, I sent him a bag of red M&Ms. And what was great is he remembered that forever. So find the wow moments where you can add value to people that align with interest, a hobby, or just a simple little thank you for taking the time to open the door or connecting for you.
I was invited to speak at a conference, and the host did that very thing. He gave me I don't know, a candy holder full of M&Ms, and we joked about no blue M&Ms, which is another long story I'll share another time. But he made sure he had a big jar of M&Ms with no blue ones in there, so it made a big difference. I may have lost Devin's connection. All right, so let's talk about reframing the objections. Sales 101 is isolate the objection and overcome the objection. That's how you do it. And so, without reciting the bullet points here, figuring out what's holding them back from moving forward. If you ever read Never Split the Difference, they say that all the yeses don't mean anything until you get a no. People say, "Oh yeah, I love you. I give out your card all the time. Oh, you're the best. You're amazing." And say, "Well, what about today?" "Well, not today." Okay, now we can have a grown-up conversation about what's going on. Did I mess up on a deal? Did I not do something right or follow up correctly? Or is there somebody else in your life that's a better fit for what's going on? Let's hit it head on. Let's have a grown-up conversation. No hard feelings. I just want to know what that looks like. And if you get to where you're comfortable having that conversation, you're going to go a long way really, really fast. Devin, talk about, welcome back, and talk about the connection-based responses.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, internet, gotta love technology. So I missed a little bit of what you were saying, but yeah, my big talking point on this is, we want to make sure we're solving problems for the other person. And so often people think there's a game at play. They think there's a initiative that you haven't been transparent with. And so I try to be very clear with strategic connections. Like, this is why I'm making connections. This is why there is no agenda. But just make sure you're clear with that as you're making connections and following up with people.
We joke about the fact that there's 3 listing presentations. There's the one you're going to give, the one you actually give, and the one you give on the way home when you're talking to yourself in the car. And I think it's the same thing on this approach. You go in to a meeting, a group, a room of whatever sort, and this is what I want to talk about. This is what I actually talked about, and this is what I should have done. And so you're going to learn from those processes and those experiences and those ups. One of my things, what I ask my coaching students to do is, when you go see somebody face to face, your goal is to come out of there with one of 4 possibilities. One is an engagement where they say, "You know what, as a matter of fact, we are in the market and we're ready to roll." Or 2 is a referral. They're going to hand you somebody else, introduce you to somebody else. 3 is what I call a ticket. And they need a financial planner. They need a new roof. They want to build a pool. You will open up a ticket for them. Your trades, your vendors, with a pre-negotiated discount for redoing their estate or their will or whatever the circumstances are. That's opening up a ticket. You take care of them at that level, you've earned the right to ask for a referral. And the last thing, and the easiest one, is an introduction. So if I'm talking to you and we go back and forth, I don't need anything, I'm not in the market to buy anything, I don't have anybody right now, but I'd say then at the very least, if I can't get an introduction from you, then I realize you don't want to play the game or I've messed something up. So, but you got to be able to walk away from that and not let it wreck your week. You just got to keep moving forward, because there are people that will shut you down sometimes and they just don't want to help. It's just not how they're wired, and that's okay. The quicker you identify those people and get past them, the better off you're going to be. And so, talk about, then we talked about the what you want to say, what you actually say, and what you say to yourself when you're driving home after the meeting. Can you talk about reframing that mindset and what that means to you?
Yeah, I think my focus is always on the other person. And so what I want people to understand is, you know, you can't make the other person do anything. So one of our core principles is control what you can control. And so often we attach our emotional response to the parts of this that we actually cannot control, right? So whether they decide not to move with us, they decide not to make a referral, they decide the meeting didn't go quite as planned, but we can follow up, we can add value, we can control our part, right? We can do all the things we can control. And so that would be my biggest recommendation, is just control what you can control and let everything else go. So follow up, still love the other person, still make the connection, still do all the things. And if you control what you can control, you're going to have success.
So deep.
And yes, I apologize. I see the live chat. I apologize because the internet is kicking my ass right now.
No, it is frustrating, but no worries. Deepak Chopra says you do your best and let go of the consequences. And so that's all you can do, because there's certain things you just don't have control over. And so, and on step 6, you offer some really good, very specific tactics about tracking your efforts. And I think, and just a quick side commercial, B has a great app for that. If you say you want to set 10 appointments and you want to do this and you want to do that, it will hold you accountable. It will report back to your coach what kind of progress you made, and you can adjust your goals accordingly. But it is a phenomenal app. We've been working really hard on it, and it helps keep you on track and keep you focused. And so, but talk about some of these great tactics that you offer.
Yeah, so you got to track everything. That's number one. If you don't have a CRM, customer relationship management system, where you actually have all your contacts and you're doing some sort of task management against them, that should be your first action item today, is go get your contacts into a system where you can track activity. And then there's some rules around that. Every time you book a meeting, make sure you assign a task for the next day to follow up with that person. So hold yourself accountable to the follow-up, because that's where you're going to win. And then if you take the time to earn someone's connection, right? So the right for them to be in your database, do something with it. So make sure there's a task assigned to check in via newsletter, send them a direct personal email, do a wow moment, personal touch. So make sure that we're nurturing long-term. And again, make sure we're task managing all of it. And so that's the big key, and it has to be inside of a system that attach tasks to contacts. If you have that, you're going to be set up for success, and then you can get into the numbers. You can see how many meetings, who's connecting you, what's working, what's not working. You can then fine tune how you're asking questions, your follow-up, your scripting, and all the other things, but you can't do any of that until you actually have real metrics and hold yourself accountable.
And just test and measure over and over again. You'll get better at it over time if you're intentional about it. One that was new to me was the weekly win documentation. I thought that was genius.
Yeah, you got to celebrate. What's funny is even in my networking meetings, I start with personal professional wins. And people are always like, this is so weird. Like, why are we doing that? We need to celebrate the progress and celebrate the success, right? So make sure you're doing that for yourself as well, right?
Fantastic. No question about it. Yeah, you do got to pat yourself on the back every once in a while and savor the wins. No question. All right, let's talk about the ripple effect and where this really scales up.
Yeah, it's compounding, right? So over time, as we build relationships, we make connections, and we continue to scale, it continues to perpetuate itself. And so the person you're meeting today is going to open a door to someone else. And so I like to share the story of Jeff. I met Jeff. Jeff was not a great meeting. It was actually one of those meetings that you kind of walk out of and go like, man, that might've been a waste of a half hour, but I still followed up. I still made 3 connections for Jeff. I still provided some resources. I still nurtured him over time. Well, Jeff ended up introducing me to one person. 6 connections later, it ended up being a dozen podcasts, 1 stage, an integrated offer, and a $30,000 client. And so that was all because of this strategic connection.
And being intentional about it and thumping away at it until that opportunity presented itself.
Yeah, you just got to keep building over time, right?
Yeah. And don't let the negativity slow you down or shut you down. You've got to get past that and be able to work past it, shake it off, and go find the next person, because there are people that do want to see you prosper. They'd love to help you out. They don't see you as a threat, or they're not trying to pull you back down to their level. And so those are the people you really want to hang with and pour into, because they're helping you significantly. So
100%.
the last big nugget, the daily commitment. Tell me, let's talk about that, and we'll put a bow on it.
Yeah, so my goal is outlandish, right? My goal is to make 5,000 connections outbound a year. And so I think people should commit to making 1 connection to someone in your network every day, or book a meeting with someone new every day. Either of those are going to be activities that lead to long-term success.
Fantastic. So showing up every day, being intentional about it, being strategic about who you're approaching and where you're spending your time are huge. Devin, I can't thank you enough for your time. If somebody wants to reach it, where can they get this book? Is it on Amazon?
Yeah, books on Amazon. You can go to devinsizemore.com for links to the book, information on ACEs, and a whole bunch more content on building relationships.
You're pretty easy to find when it comes to podcasts and speaking engagements and things like that. And there you go. There's that. And then on behalf of my partners and our staff and team at Beat Coaching, thank you very much for joining us. We got a couple of events coming up. Our mastermind calls are starting in September, and some great coaching there. We are also hosting an event in Charlotte, North Carolina, November 5th and 6th. If you're interested in that or anywhere in the area, it'll be a fantastic event. It'll be the 4th one that we've done this year. But if you're interested go look at gobegreat.com. You can see the mastermind and see what's involved in that. It's a phenomenal program. It's going to be taught by the partners who are all active practitioners in the business. So we're not telling you how hot shot we were 10 or 15 or 20 years ago. We're talking about what we're doing right now to make it happen. So again, guys, mastermind call tomorrow. So if you're interested and can join us, we'd be happy to comp a call to get you on and see if you think it's a good fit or not. We also have a free community with a ton of content. So we'd love to have you join us. Devin, I can't thank you enough for your time. I really appreciate it. It was great to meet with you. I really enjoyed reading your book, and I'm looking forward to the next time we connect.
Yep. Thank you.